everybody. We are Group 5, one of the multispectral USB microscope teams. I'm Mallory Schroeder. I'm from the Department of Bioengineering.
I'm Nazneen. I'm from the School of Art and Design.
I'm Andy. I'm from the Mechanical Engineering Department.
I'm Kenneth. And I'm from the General Engineering Department.
And with that, let's hear about our project. So this project originated as a senior design project within bioengineering. Their task was to create a handheld, portable USB-powered microscope with multispectral imaging capabilities. So this image right here is their solution. It works. It uses a commercially available USB microscope. But as you can see, it's very clunky. It's not the most visually appealing. There's lots of wires hanging around everywhere. So our task was to create a better casing that improves the aesthetics, ergonomics, and the usability of the device. So a little more background on multispectral imaging. It's used in a variety of settings, from laboratories in universities to hospitals to industry settings. And the main goal of this project was to make something that was portable and cheap that could be used where a traditional arm scope is not accessible or too expensive. So here is an example of a very large microscope that you clearly can't take from place to place. So we were tasked to make a more handheld version. A little background on multispectral imaging, because some people in the audience might not be too familiar. So the whole idea is to separate an image based on the wavelengths of molecules called fluorophores. So you need a light source to shine light upon the subject. The light passes through a filter that selects a range of wavelengths, and then the microscope collects the image, and then it is analyzed on a computer. So with that, we took this technology and created our solution, and our final design is pictured here. And I will pass it off to Nazneen, who will go into more on our brainstorming and how we got to this point.
So the first step that we did when we first got together was brainstorming. There were a lot of questions, of course, when we got to this project. We were asking, like, what is this USB microscope all about? Clearly, Mallory already told about it. And we were thinking, it came with a motor that actually rotates the wheel, the existing filter wheel, and it is very, very clunky. It has so much wire on it. We were thinking, how can we make it better? How can we reduce the amount of time used for it, portability of it, and just the design-wise of it? So during the concept generation, there were a lot of things that we thought about. Right here, we did think a lot about how it would stand, how it would be stored, whether we needed to tilt it when it's sitting still, or does it have to be just portable, not even standing on its own. We did realize that it didn't need to stand because it was going to be used on animals, mostly on animals, so we don't have to keep it still. So yes, it will be mostly handheld, but doesn't mean that it couldn't stand nicely, as opposed to being laid down, when it's not in use. So we did look at this one for a bit, just when it would stand, using a gooseneck lamp inspiration, but we ended up with something with a handheld. We have the 3D modeling over there, as you can see from the previous slide. So it's just about getting it more efficiently, as well as more clean look as compared to the existing one.
Okay, take it from here. So again, we'll pass around the 3D prints in a moment, but we had the issue of lighting the tackle, which was, in the original design, it was obscured by this big filter wheel, which was in the way. And we decided to go with a transparent plastic for the front rotating wheel, which is not that thick, so the light can penetrate through pretty easily, and it's very unidirectional. I don't know if that's a word. And so it wouldn't really mess with any of the other filters that are not being used. And and I forgot to mention that the handheld microscope comes with LEDs that you can kind of solder onto the front. But so lighting wouldn't be an issue for this one. We had a lot of different ideas of how to actually cause these filters to rotate. We didn't want we didn't want changing the filter to be a huge process. And the original team's idea was having a motor that was button controlled and would switch back and forth. But there was no requirement that the pictures had to be the exact frame perfect image every time used in 6 different images. It's just for comparing a similar region. So it's okay to kind of where's the filter wheel? Right over here. It's okay to kind of use a click wheel that wouldn't change the picture that you're looking at too much. And this is the click wheel, and it moves in pretty nicely and kind of snaps into place on each one. We originally were going with a pen clicker mechanism up there. But we decided to go with something along the lines of like a sprinkler clicker, like that. And yeah, it's a good design choice. It's cheap and it's easy and it's less parts, easy to assemble. Yeah, and here's more about the click wheel. I just explained all of that, but basically the way it works is it has a peg which presses not on the central axis, and that fits into small little spherical shaped holes and kind of clicks it into place on each run. And we took that design from the sprinkler mechanism, but we took it to a filter.
So here you can see the evolution of our designs. We started with trying to make it a cleaner, more functional design in the red design, and we implemented the click wheel that he talked about previously. We wanted to be able to insert the microscope from the top to make it quicker and faster to use, and we gravitated towards the idea of making the device that it could stand on the table fairly well. And so what we did was we started with kind of a bulky design where it just has a protrusion which allows it to stand on the table, but we didn't like how bulky it was, so we moved towards a 12-sided polygon with a flat edge on the handle so that it could stand on the table. Yes, so as I talked about before, we were looking at trying to insert it from the top. One of our designs featured a spring-loaded clicking mechanism so that we can insert it and it'd lock in place and it wouldn't rotate or slide out. And then we moved towards a kind of a one-form or one-piece device where it just kind of clicks in using kind of flexible plastic. The plastic we were using here kind of fractured and it broke off for our first design, and so we didn't want to try breaking it before the presentation for the final design. But even without that, it fits pretty well, the tolerances that we used, and you can swing it around. So the handle, we started with kind of a finger-formed handle with a ridge along the back where the wire could kind of sit in. We didn't really like the hard edges on the back, so we kind of just allowed the wire to go above your hand. And we tried to reduce the length of that handle because we didn't like how it fit with the pinky for our first design here. But we realized we cut off too much, and we didn't really like how the fingers formed around the handle, so we went with more of a, I don't know how you describe that, but more of a streamlined, ergonomic feel. And the design here is actually a little shorter than that one because we didn't like how short it felt with the hand here. And this, you can kind of hold it like this if you have a bigger hand or something. So this is the final design. Features the 12-sided filter wheel.
All right, thank you very much. You guys have any questions?
I think it's actually probably the most successful microsection process. Maybe this thing was
Yeah.
50 days ago.
So our first design was admittedly hideous. Yeah. Nothing more to say about that.
I can understand why you want to create the table into a handle, but I think it would probably be worth persisting with that.
Yeah.
Some way. It's not a big deal, but it
Right.
When it's on nitrogen, just be reluctant to come out the wire.
Right.
You've got to
Our goal with this was, in the previous design, there were all these wires and there was to be an integrated chip in the device. So our goal with this was, just one wire, very simple. And the other thing is that this is very easily it's very easily detachable. And so it just snaps right into place. And that's what we wanted, was so that you can really, because you're not always going to be using all these filters. So.
But how close are you to a working prototype?
So-
You could actually use the filter.
This works. I should also say that this microscope is not it's not like a very high-powered microscope. It only gets to about like 30 to 50 times, so it's really like a very high-powered magnifying glass. So it's okay to be handheld and looking at maybe someone's arm or an animal or something. But yeah, in that previous design, our clicking mechanism worked a little bit better, like really definitive clicks. I don't know what happened with this one. It's really, really careful tolerancing, but otherwise it's basically works right now. We've tried it out a couple of times.
So you try it out.
Yeah, it's just USB, and you can type in like a webcam test, and it just shows right up. Yeah.
So that can stand on the table, kind of at an angle, so it also allows you to just have a kind of a stand for when you're looking at something really close.
Right. It actually, there's tons of different ways that you can rest it, which is something that we really looked into. So you can do it on the sides, you can do it upright, angled down, and you can do it straight down as well. Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.